is granular processing in Pigments. So this is my granular synth. So the effect that I've managed to get from that is by using granular synthesis. To start off, in my synth I've just got two samples, so one's a vibraphone and one's just like a music box hit, just a single note. In Pigments I changed it from a triangle wave to a sine wave, and this allows me to get a lot more of a more rounded sound. It's less harsh, a bit more twinkly. I set the density to 11 Hz. I just did this for personal preference. You can set it to anything, but this just gives it a nice kind of like spinning, kind of glitchy top end, the top of the sound. I set my width all the way to 1, which means I'm allowed to get a really wide sounding synth. It means all my harmonies are extended so that everything sounds nice and wide. So yeah, in more of granular synthesis, I synthesized some strings. So I did this by using two samples. So one of them is a sustained violin note, and one of them is just a harp hit. I feel like these two worked well with each other. Exactly the same. Density is set at 11 Hz and width all the way up, and put it back onto a sine wave to get a much more of a rounded off, clean sound. I'll give these strings a listen. So yeah, that's the way of that in granular synthesis. In my FM synthesis, I used FM for the bass line. So the bass line sounds like this. So the way that I synthesized that was just taking a literal, like an EFM stock patch, and then I turned the FM depth up ever so slightly, just to give myself a bit more depth in the sound, a bit more texture, a bit more harmony. And then I turned up the wave on the modulator. This adds grittiness and harshness, so that's where your sub bass turns into almost like an electronic sub bass. A lot more harmony, a lot more frequencies in there, and it could be heard a lot more easier. I turned up the stereo detuner also very slightly to enable me to just get extra harmonics and make it sound a lot more wider. But yeah, that's it for FM synthesis. My wavetable synthesis was in RetroSynth in Logic, and this is just a wavetable. This sounds like this. So yeah, that's just a very simple lead. I turn the glide up, as you can hear, just to make everything kind of fall nicely, just gives it an extra effect. I've turned the attack up on both the envelope and the amp envelope and the filter envelope, so they're pretty much even. The release is up as well on both of them, just to give it a nice kind of tail out on the sound. I've also turned the shape down of the wavetable. This adds just extra kind of texture to the sound and just kind of makes it a bit more different to just a stock plugin. There's a few versions of this. Underneath this I have a drone, in which I took the cutoff all the way down so that a more flat, wooded, rounded off sound could be achieved to sit underneath the chorus. Yeah, that sounds like this. So on top of that, on this one here as well, I've also automated the cutoff so that I can get more extra effects and, you know, obviously a natural build up towards the chorus. One problem I encountered when making this was I had some frequencies in my bass line that were super muddy and just clashing with the whole thing. To simply fix this, I went into my EQ and just did a notch EQ 376 hertz, sorry, just to take out some of that low mid that was clashing with the chords and the melody line.